Hello, welcome to episode 3 of Health and Madness. And today we have a guest. Her name is Joanna Samona, and she is a trauma-informed somatic sexologist and the founder of Expanding Intimacy. She's also into yoga and tantric breathwork student. And she's a lover of matcha, attuned touch, dance, and all things somatic and nervous system regulating. Wow, those are some big words. And I am going to let you translate that for me.
Hi, Alina. Thank you for having me. It's amazing to be here, and I'm already having so much fun.
That's awesome. But yeah, so I always start by asking, like, what's your origin story? Like, how did you get into this? And what is it that you do? What is somatic sexology, firstly?
That is a very excellent story, and thank you for that. Somatic sexology, or else known as somatic intimacy, it is this brand new field, is emerging these days, and it is really a game changer around intimacy and sexuality. So I imagine that maybe the word somatic might be a bit foreign to most people. So somatic comes from the word soma, which in Greek means the body. And it was first introduced by Hanna in the 1976, if I remember correctly. And it used to mean all things around the body. It was a movement discipline that were including everything that we associate with the body. So it was movement and breath and focus of awareness. So somatic sexology, we're using these tools. We are bringing people more into contact with their body meaning also below the neck. So not so much the brain that our Western societies mostly are so fixated upon, but really coming into contact with the body, the inner body, the sensations, the feelings, the inner knowing, and bringing that attention inwards, which is really
Would you say it's like some form of therapy also?
It is very therapeutic. It can be very therapeutic. And in this field, there are people who are also therapists, other people who are working with the coaching, with a coach's hat on.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of diversity around this.
Yeah, I've heard this word around quite a lot these days. It's become a buzzword, somatics. And then you have like a specific field then in somatics, what you do. So yours is like sexology. And then I've heard of somatic therapists and basically other people also using the body to, I don't know, heal or whatever the goal is.
Yeah, that's very correct.
Yeah.
And in somatic sexology, we do use somatic therapy tools. So even though currently I'm not a therapist, I am using somatic therapeutic tools to facilitate change with my clients. Cool. And as you said very, very well, it's somatics can be like there is somatic movement and all of these conscious movements.
Yeah.
There is somatic sexology, somatic psychology. There is somatics plus entrepreneurship and leadership. So there's also this field of somatic leadership these days.
Interesting. So what is your story? What is your origin story?
Yeah, okay.
Let's get into it.
Yeah, let's just do it.
Yeah.
So basically my story is not really feeling my body as a young girl. And yeah, I was not really aware at the time. I was just understanding that my body from the neck down, it was numb.
How old are we talking? How young were you?
Well, I guess after a certain age of definitely after the age of 10 or 11, for sure. I do remember myself being vibrant as a younger kid and dancing and trolling around. And
Aren't we all?
Yeah. And then things happened.
Yeah.
And as they do happen for many of us. And I remember not knowing what I want, not really feeling joy or even pleasure. So it was just a nothingness. It was just this disconnect that was very profound.
Okay.
And of course, the story didn't start there, but it was like something that I knew I could feel that was wrong. I was really, I went to therapy quite young, 23. So I started on this journey of personal development, of therapy, trying to find the ways that, yeah, would take me forwards. And then definitely not feeling my body meant a lot and a lot and a lot of bad sex.
God.
So
Yeah.
yeah, that's and this is quite a true thing that is not really so much said about many bodies, not just like definitely female bodies, vulva
Yeah.
owners.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we don't really so much say it, but there was a lot of bad
We
and
might
also
say it, but we would never think that, oh, we can do something about it.
yes, and we can. We definitely
Yeah.
can.
Yeah.
And then even though when I started feeling pleasure, because there was a point in my life that pleasure, joy were
Yeah.
not familiar to me.
Yeah.
And then that changed and I started feeling joy and I started
Yeah.
feeling pleasure. But still,
Yeah.
like I knew that there was more. And then at some point when I started having like accidentally even like a mind-blowing orgasm that was
Yeah.
like, whoa, I
Yeah.
then couldn't replicate it. So I
Yeah.
was not, I didn't know how to do that again.
Ah.
And so I started experimenting with my body quite late, I would say, because Greece, I'm Greek, and Greece is a place of really quite shaming female sexuality, and there wasn't, at least in my family and in how I grew up, this
Yeah.
permission to
It's
explore.
just taboo.
It's just a taboo, yeah.
most
It's a
cultures, I would
not
say.
just, it's a
Yeah.
huge taboo.
Ah, okay.
And so I started having these amazing experiences with myself quite late.
Yeah.
And so it was like my mid 20s. And then I was like, oh, this is great, this is amazing. And then I
Yeah.
started having amazing experiences with partners.
Yeah.
But then I was like, especially with partners, I was like, oh, and then why doesn't this happen all the time? And why can't I have this again? And so I knew that there was more. So when you have like a taste of
Yeah.
something amazing, right? Like you,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and then
want it
know,
again,
you
yeah.
know that's there. And then you're like, okay, how do I have this again?
Yeah, yeah.
So it was the beginning of
This journey.
this journey that's
Wow.
ongoing. And
That's a cool story. But you know, like you keep saying that you discovered it quite late. I still think it's quite early, like for you to even think about these things at a young age, that there's more. There's more, I can fulfill my needs, and you know, there's more I can achieve. So just that realization, most of us never get them, or even if we do, it's like way too late.
yeah. So I hear you, and I definitely want to say, I feel somehow it fits here. When I was a young person, and for a long time, I thought I'm broken. And I just really want to say, if you're listening to this, you are not broken. There are things that you can do. Things will change.
Yeah.
It takes a bit of time. It takes a bit of knowledge, a bit of practice.
Yeah.
And it's just that we don't have the environment. We don't have the sexual education. We don't have the intimacy education, which is same but different.
Okay.
And yeah, it's a possibility for all of us. It's just that I guess it takes also a specific curiosity and a
Yeah.
kind of person that wants to go there.
Yeah, yeah.
Some people maybe deny that part of themselves, and it's also that shame,
Yeah,
the societal shame around pleasure,
Yeah,
around the
but
body.
like you mentioned, how much does childhood play a role in achieving, let's say, sexual fulfillment or just a deeper fulfillment? How would you say?
Yeah, so definitely how we relate to others, to ourselves, is influenced, is informed by how we grew up, the kinds of relationships that we had, how we experienced those relationships.
Yeah.
And I would say for me, and as for everyone,
Yeah.
unless they grew up somewhere in the jungle like Tarzan,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
it's a big part. And for myself, growing up in house with very much buried intimacy, like I never saw my parents kiss, not even on the cheek. And there was always this tension around, like if we were to see a movie with like something romantic or even a sex scene, there was always
oh my God,
this.
I can relate to this.
Yeah.
It gets really awkward really fast.
Yeah, and even worse, like we never got, until this day, Greece is a place with no sex education. At least other places, they teach you how to put a condom, or it's
Yeah.
quite like, around, well, there's a lot of problems with that.
Yeah.
It's quite a lot around male bodies and around preventing STIs and pregnancy, which at least it's something,
Yeah.
but it's not the sex education that we are teaching people in somatic sexology and relevant fields.
Interesting. But I didn't know that about Greece. I just, assumed like it's in Europe, so maybe there is some form of knowledge there.
I wish a European sort of passport
Oh, God.
said that you have a bit of sex education, but no.
But how would you compare it then to Finland, which I assume is like maybe on the other end of the spectrum, or I would think people are very aware here, even from a young age.
Yeah, so Finland has sex education, that's great.
Yeah.
But still, I'm thinking that probably worldwide, even though I cannot speak to that, I'm not really studying sex education globally. But in my awareness, it's still quite oriented to how don't we get pregnant, how do we prevent STIs, how to put condoms. So it's really around that. It's not pleasure oriented. It's not let's learn our bodies. It's not, and especially around female bodies, it's not let's give an understanding to young females or people with vulva how their bodies really function, how their erotic self really comes alive, which is so much different from male.
Yeah, I'm sure
Bodies.
it is. I'm still finding new things about my body still, and like I'm 31, and every few days I will find out a new fact about myself. I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. So, yeah, I mean, we're always learning new things about each other, and I think it's also important to not just know about your own body, but your partner or the other bodies that you're going to be in contact with. I think it's important to know a little bit about them as well.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. But it all starts from intimacy. And intimacy is, I'm stealing that from somebody else. Don't remember who said it first, but it's into me, I see.
Oh, that's cool.
So the start of everything with intimacy and sexuality, which is like there's an overlap between sexuality and intimacy. So what can be intimate is not necessarily sex, and what is sex, it's not necessarily intimate. So there's a big distinction between those two.
What is intimacy for you? I'm going to just ask.
Yeah, amazing question. So one element of this is into me, I see. So it means becoming aware of, in terms of sexuality and eroticism, about what kind of touch I really desire. And it's not just okay, but it's just amazing. Right? So when does my body feel an enthusiastic yes around touch?
Okay, enthusiastic yes, I love it.
Yeah, this is what we're working with in somatic sexology. It's not about, hey, is this okay?
Yeah.
But is this amazing? Does
Yeah.
this feel really amazing? And if it doesn't, then really giving those tools to people to start vocalizing what it is that they would want different. And so a part of intimacy is understanding my own wants, my own desires, my own body, exploring my own body, and also understanding patterns of how do I relate, not just as a body, like physically, but also as spirit and as Joe. I call myself Joe. So as like, how do I approach others?
Okay.
When I feel difficulty, what do I do? How do I escape? So this is an intimate part as well of really understanding what are those relational patterns. So when I want to be a friend to you, or
Yeah.
I want to approach somebody for dating purposes,
Yeah.
what do I do? Or if they approach me, how do I work with that? Like, do I escape? Do I hide in a corner?
Yeah.
Do I get like all sort of, do I push them away? And if I do, what kind of tool do I use? Do I sort of like giggle and laugh? And,
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah.
when they ask me something that is really important and vulnerable, do I know how to communicate that? Or do I just avoid connection because that is a very,
It's
very,
too intimate for
yeah, it
yeah,
is.
yeah,
I don't know how to have that conversation. So we're learning more and more, and I'm learning still to have these conversations
with yourself.
and others.
Ah.
Like just yesterday, I had a conversation
Yeah.
around STIs with maybe a potential partner. So it is an intimate conversation, or it can be.
Wow, now my brain just went to a different direction. Like,
Yeah. Okay. Go back to pleasure.
digress.
No, I can definitely
But,
talk about that as well.
yeah, like for someone like you who is so aware of, or at least you are at least on the journey of knowing what you want and what you need, what your body needs, what your soul needs. How do you approach a potential partner? Like, I want to know what the first set of questions are that you would ask that person. And does it like scare the other person? Like, whoa. A little
Yeah.
bit.
So now that I'm hearing you say that, I noticed that, oh my God, people would think it's like an interview. But it's not an interview. And
Yeah.
I would say this, at least what I notice I more and more do, even unconsciously sometimes, is have a felt sense of how I feel in their presence. So, and that is the
yeah,
somatic
step one.
aspect.
Yeah.
So basically, you can also feel it right now here with me. So if I were to ask you, like, hey, how do you feel here with me? Like if you were to tap into, like, do you feel comfortable? Do you feel heard? What is the impact of in your body, in
Yeah.
your mind, holistically, of you being with me? So what I do when I'm interested, when I sense a
Yeah,
curiosity,
yeah.
is like I try to be in that space of, hey,
Yeah.
like, it can be
Can
let's
you
let's
also-
play together.
Can you gauge from the other person also? Like, okay, this person also feels or seems like the other person's also comfortable, or can you kind of understand that also?
Yeah, but since I am a woman, and quite often women, not all, but
Yeah.
quite many of us, and the ones that identify as
Yeah.
women and female, we tend to go so much more into what does the other person need. So we tend to sort of not be for ourselves and in our own experience, but really be for the other person. What does he or she wants if we're attracted to females? So really be,
Like a people pleaser.
externally oriented. So what I'm trying to do more and more with people, of course, I am aware of things that are happening around them, and of course, I make assumptions which I try to check. So
Yeah.
I saw you, like, doing this with your face or whatever, and does that mean this? So I try to check my assumptions.
Yeah.
But then the other thing I'm doing more and more is like, how do I feel? And just really focus on me, inside me. Like, do I feel comfortable to speak about something that's difficult for me or vulnerable for me? So it's not so much questions, but it's more like I want to see how my body feels with them. I'm still trying to navigate the world of dating in Helsinki because as I see it, I'm trying to bring those somatic elements into the dating that I want to do.
Yeah.
So for me, dating is like really feeling, at least initially, the space between, and of course talking, right? But like at the beginning, I'm not this person that's like interviewing. I hate this. What is your job? And
what's your favorite color?
Like these kind of things. I don't really like receiving these questions. And if I do ask something like that, I try to make it as interesting as possible. So instead of asking, what do you do? Like if I were to ask you, what do you do for work? I wouldn't ask you that. I would ask you, like, hey, you wake up in the morning, and what is the thing that you would do if nobody would pay you? Like you would get up and still do it. So what are the things that really bring you that aliveness and that sense of purpose?
It's definitely not my job. I would not do it then if it didn't pay me. This research that's been going around these days quite a lot, like the happiest men are married men and the happiest women are single women. And I always wonder, like, why? How come don't women need men also? Like, how does that make sense?
Yeah. What do you think is the answer?
I think, for me, yes. It's an enthusiastic yes.
Yes. Are men? Are you interested in men?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I would say taking a little bit of that information around the session, it would be definitely using a really amazing practice that I'm actually engaged right now in learning deeper and facilitating even more. So it's a practice of really guiding people to really tap into what they want, to really, but in a somatic level. So just really asking the body and really, first of all, tapping in and finding those communications, those noticings of the body, those felt senses, which can be sensations. Like you can even, right now as you're sitting, you can maybe feel how it's like to sit on the chair. So you can take your mind to feel your body sitting on the chair, to feel that support. If we were to lean a little bit backwards, of how it's like to feel that support of the chair. And then if I were to take you deeper in a journey, I would invite you to really tap into your body and feel your body inwards even more. So it can feel like initially as a body scan, but later on I'm facilitating more, a body scan like in yoga or yoga nidra, or just really sensing the body externally. But then this process is really taking you inwardly. So not on the surface of your body, but what do you notice inside? What do you notice in your belly? What does your heart space feel like? If anything at all. So this is really the tool that changed my life from a person that was feeling nothing. So when I went to my sexological bodywork training, I was feeling nothing. When that questions were facilitated, I was like, what are all those people talking about of sensing? I feel this sensation, this fluttering there, these colors, even images come up for people, all this rich world inside the body. And I was like, I feel nothing. Great. But then it changed. So this is something I would start with, of like really, with this process, the body, the more you trust it, the more it opens, it speaks to what it wants. So I would ask you questions, and I'm pretty sure things will come up that you might not even know that you know.
I mean, I'm pretty sure I'm always like open to things. And I remember even when I started therapy, I started it for a different purpose, but it led to a completely different world. Like I didn't even know I had those issues inside me. But I guess that's how it works. If you give it enough time, something comes up.
Always. Sure. It's a journey. I've been in so much therapy, and I'm still,
there's always
continuing.
Something to learn. Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah. And it's also like it really relates to all this question around feeling one's body, understanding one's needs, because growing up in that society, I was very, very often told what I'm supposed to feel and what my body needs
By other
and
people.
in which way.
Yeah.
And it's something that I understand now, like now that I have the vocabulary and the knowledge, is a boundary violation. But back there, it's like, the auntie comes and does this on your cheek. For those who don't see, I'm just,
Yeah.
pinching my own cheek. And
Yeah.
so you're receiving a lot of unwanted touch. And what happens with this process, like if we're young, for a long time, really receiving unwanted touch, not really having a space to express what you want.
Yeah.
When I was doing that, I was getting, set aside. People laughed at me. Like I was saying, I don't want that touch on my body. And people were just dismissing me, and they were doing it anyway in my own family. And what does that create? Like, okay, it created, of course, a lot of anger, frustration, different
Yeah.
things that were coming up as a behavior as a young woman and child. But then at the end, what happened is I was not feeling my body. So this not feeling my body is a trauma response
Yeah.
of, hey, if nobody listens, if I'm getting my boundaries, my body is violated.
Yeah.
Even if it's a small thing, right? With violation right now, I don't mean necessarily sexual, even though that can happen, and it does happen a lot. I'm saying violations of this kind. Then at some point, your body goes, I'm not communicating with you anymore. Because even if I do, there is no way out of this. Nobody listens. You cannot really, and it might be even dangerous to you, because if the more you get angry, the more you sort of ask for this different thing that you want, it might even be, people might get aggressive. And actually, in some ways, it did become aggressive in the sense like, you're so picky, you're so this, you're so that, and you get dismissed and you're set aside. And as a young child, this is a threat of not being a part of the community, not being acknowledged. It's a survival threat. It's a threat to the nervous system. And as you said, it all starts from us. And this is one of the major things that we do in somatic sexology. We are really educating and guiding people not to tolerate touch anymore, and not really go along with things. And this is very crucial to intimacy and sexuality. So the first number one thing is bringing that attention to the body. And then I do this with one of the tools that I mentioned is this practice that's called body poem. I'm facilitating and training in that even deeper. And so first is attention, bringing the attention to the body, creating a connection, what we call body-mind connection, is quite a lot what is happening in this process. And then once I get to feel my body, I get to understand what I want, then we're teaching people and guiding them to vocalize that. So we're doing consent exercises, which are touch-based. They can be also talk-based, of really giving people the tools to communicate that inner knowing, that sensation of like, this touch is good, but nah, not exactly. And this is what I would want more. And this translates not just to erotic intimacy, but just all relationships. Then you would feel more empowered to ask for a salary increase, or to say to your friend, I really do want to see you, but that coffee shop doesn't really feel that the right one for me. And I want to go there. I want to explore something different with you today. Would you like that too? So this kind of inner knowing transforms all aspects of life. It's not just for sex.
Just one more thing before we sign off. There are going to be people listening to this, and I'm sure now a lot of people are going to be questioning themselves, or I don't know how to frame this question really. Like,
so where can they start from?
Yeah, where do they start?
That is a very great. Nowadays, everybody, I think, is quite approachable. Like, I also work online. I give online sessions. Lots of people do in this field. So that is at least one easy answer of like, hey, just book also a 30-minute call. I offer a discovery call, a free call to just solve questions around this work, and also for people to see who I am, how I'm like, if we
Yeah.
vibe together and
Yeah.
would want to work together more. But I was just saying, just whatever is happening right now with your intimacy or erotic self, there is help. You're not broken. It's not is I know that it feels like an ocean sometimes of things, and where do I start from? But have a call with somebody, talk to a friend, talk to your partner, listen to a podcast, this one, others as well. Have a conversation. Like, hey, through this, I heard this, and how can I be more in contact with my body?
Yeah.
How can we have a conversation of when we're intimate of how can I vocalize what I want more? When we're intimate, can we have can you ask me, for example, something that I do say to clients is not, is this okay? Is this good? As a kind of touch.
Yeah.
But more focus on, should I go faster or slower? Would you like more pressure or less? So when we're touching,
Yeah.
and especially with erotic practices, it is really learning that kind of communication as well, of like, and you can make it really
Yeah.
tasty, and you can make it
Yeah.
also naughty and a game.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be like,
Very serious.
yeah, very
Yeah.
serious, but like, you can whisper at each other's ears, or you can have like a sign. Like you can, if I squeeze one, it means this, and if
Yeah.
I do something else, it means that, and you can make a game out of it. So I'm just saying, hey, there is things to learn that will really take your intimacy to another level.
But yeah, it's very interesting. It's a completely new domain for me to fall upon. And I think I might have a session with you at some point because, I am healing, so this falls under that also. And
You're very welcome. And also, there are workshops. So one, if it doesn't feel like the right thing for them to do to have a session, one can also go to a workshop. So there's at least 2 workshops that I'm facilitating right now. One is around dating. The other one is around somatic intimacy. It's not a sexual space. So we don't explore sexuality, but we do explore intimacy and what comes up for you when you are with other people in the same space. So it's a nonverbal, amazing practice that has also changed my life, which is called ritual play, and it's a start to really creating more of that intimacy with oneself and with other people.
Well, Joanna, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much as well.
And yeah, I had a great time